fine. What's up with that?
That's a good question.
All right. Well, first of all, before we start, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much. Welcome to Reno. We're excited to have you. What did you think of our view? It's
amazing.
Impressive, right?
It's amazing.
Right? First of all, I want to say thank you to Robert Goldberg. Where are you? Where are you? Are you hiding? He's hiding. He's very humble. But I want to say thank you so much. I know that this takes a lot of dedication, blood, sweat, and tears, and headaches. So thank you very much. And VentureBeat. Give a huge round of applause for VentureBeat. Remarkable job. And if you're not following them on Twitter, you better be. They're all laughing. Yeah, Hillary, we're from tech. We follow him. Anyway, so we're really excited to be here. We're obviously, we are not Las Vegas, so what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? But in Reno, that's not the same situation here. I know everything that happens, so make sure you behave yourself when you're here. We're just gonna get right into this, but really quickly, I'm going to tell you, I wasn't a politician. I got into politics because I was very frustrated with the city. They wanted to charge me $5,000 to move my sign 2 feet. So instead of complaining about it, I decided I would run for office. Whoa! So one thing led to another, and then I decided to run for mayor because I really understood the challenges that businesses face when they come to governments. And I come from a long list of entrepreneurs and crazy inventors. So I remember as a little girl, my mom always talking about how she would go and meet with this politician, and they were really excited. She had really cool inventions, fire prevention and things like that. So I remember as a little girl just looking up to her so much. So it's really kind of interesting today. But I remember the challenges that she faced, and I remember saying, one day I want to change that. So for entrepreneurs and businesses, when they come to the city of Reno, it's really important for me to embrace them. I'm sure it's very similar for you. So why don't you tell us why you ran for office?
I ran for office. First, I want to thank VentureBeat and the sponsors for the opportunity to come here. It's great to be with you, Mayor Schieve and Mayor Hillary. That's what we call each other.
When your name you can't spell it, or yours is too long, you become mayor by first name.
The first name,
what
makes
about
it
Pete?
easy.
Mayor Pete, right?
Mayor Pete,
buddy guy.
Because
Anyone
nobody
know Mayor
can say
Pete?
Buttigieg,
right. Exactly. So we'll just say first names. And we actually met each other.
We're
very
New
involved
School
at Harvard IOP.
That's exactly the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Mm-hmm. But I grew up having access to Mayor Richard Gordon Hatcher. And it had a real impact on me because I saw him helping people. And I saw him being accessible to young people. And so I said, I want to be a mayor when I grow up. I said that at 7.
Uh-oh.
I said that at 7.
You actually said that?
I said that at 7. But I took the circuitous route. Mm-hmm. I went to Washington and did drug courts. I went to Indianapolis as the AG. I was a drug court judge in Gary. And I, in retrospect, all of that was preparing me to be the mayor of a city that had really had challenges. And so now, I can go to Washington and I know where all the opportunities are and the different agencies. I can go to Indianapolis and have a rapport with folks, even though we have a supermajority of a different party from me. And I can think outside of the box. What I always tell our team is, I don't want to hear what you can't do in government because, anytime it starts sounding like government, I don't want to be involved in it.
Oh, I love that.
So,
right? So I always say we got to be the culture of yes.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Instead of the culture of no. And that can be really challenging, actually, in government. A lot of people have been there many years. There's a lot of great people that run, obviously, my city and your city, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
But I do think that can be a challenge. They're not used to that culture of yes.
They are not. In fact, sometimes people, and we've seen this change in the city of Gary, but sometimes people get accustomed to just moving it off of their desk or transferring it from their phone. And, I call that the runaround. I don't know what you guys call it in Reno, but we call it the runaround.
We call it red tape, right?
And that's not acceptable. And so it's really, how can you help someone get something done?
Right.
What do we need to do to make it happen? And the great news for me is that we have a lot of young people in our administration whose attitude is inherently that way. And so to be able to work with them and really learn from them, but also mentor them, has been a real treat for me.
So what I think is really interesting, where there's been this pretty big shift, certainly with mayors, because mayors are at ground zero, right?
Absolutely.
You can't just hide from people. Like if I'm in the grocery store, someone might be mad that I put a stoplight in their backyard or something.
And
crazy.
they'll tell you about it.
Right? And
even
they
though
tell
you're
you,
trying to shop and get home to do something.
Right. But these are people that are our friends, our brothers, our sisters,
Sure.
people that you see at Little League games, things like that, right? But mayors are really at ground zero. And it's been, I would say, what do you think, in the last 2 years, maybe, mayors have come out very, very strong on many, many initiatives. And one of the things, talking about the culture of yes and changing at the government level really has to be up to the mayor, right? You
Right.
have to send that energy, you have to send that vision, you have to send, a different kind of message, because it's something that's kind of new and shifting for government. Like many of you, this conversation is kind of actually happening all over the country right now with mayors and entrepreneurs and investors, and it's a really exciting time. And I can kind of tell you what would attract you. Obviously, we have become a medium-sized city, which I think is just so weird. When I go to conference of mayors, I'm like, whoa, And what's also interesting, you guys will probably appreciate that, when I walk into the room, they say, oh, Mayor Schieve, this was when I first was elected 3 years ago, they'd say, oh, Mayor Schieve, Reno 911. Now when I walk in, they go, hey, Tesla mayor.
Yeah, how about that?
Right?
That's
And
cool.
so it's a totally different narrative, but it's really interesting to see how cities like ours are playing a role in what you guys are doing across the country. It really is exciting. I mean, there's a lot of benefits, obviously, coming from a smaller to medium-sized city, right?
Sure.
Sort of hospitality, the things you talk about.
Well, the accessibility. I mean, getting
Absolutely.
things done quickly. There's not a lot of red tape, because as a motivated mayor, someone who wants companies, who wants new companies, new industry, Matt talked earlier about the challenges that we had with manufacturing. And we're still the home of U.S. Steel's flagship, but they don't employ 25,000 people anymore. They employ 3,500. And so what we've learned from that lesson is diversification. And so as a motivated city, we open our doors, we are welcoming, we want folks to come, and we want to make it easier for them to come, and we want to offer a trained workforce in that process.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely. It makes complete sense, right? But again, if you have a mayor that's sort of saying, that's not what we want to be, and when you talk about diversifying, that's a lot like Reno. I mean, we were really known for this gaming hub, right? And we've really diversified with, different companies that have come here, manufacturing, transportation, innovation, I mean, just all across the board. And I think that's what cities are really learning, right? And the different infrastructure and the workforce that you're talking about. And it has to be, it's no different whenever you guys go into a store and you're treated poorly. Are you ever going to go back there? It's the same thing when you walk in my door to City Hall. And people will text me, and you talk about the access, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And my friends here know from EDON or Mike Kazmierski, some of you guys will text me in the middle of the day, and my schedule is just jam-packed. I'm sure yours is.
Oh, sure.
But I want to be able to be accessible and meet.
So you text,
yes.
you accept emails.
Anything to bring them into our city, but share this excitement, this energy that's happening about Reno. I don't know, can you guys feel it yet since you've been here? No, come on. Right? You can certainly feel it.
Well, I have to commend you, because I used to come to Reno to train at the Judicial College. And, you know, it was the bowling
Right.
capital, it was the Nugget,
Yeah,
and it was
it
the
was the
Judicial
Nugget.
College. Those were the three
The
things.
Nugget, which wasn't even in Reno, right?
Exactly,
Are you talking
right.
John Nugget? So
Squaggles
it wasn't
and
even
Sparks,
in Reno.
and Sparks,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
But as I walked down here today, I saw a totally new and different Reno. So you all are all to be commended. And it really speaks to creating the quality of place, which we've worked hard to do. We're talking about arts and culture. We were fortunate enough to win Bloomberg's $1 million
You won
public
that?
art project. We did.
I'm so
In
competitive.
Gary, Indiana.
I'm so competitive.
Yes.
And
won.
but congratulations.
And
I love
so-
that. High five.
Yep.
Love it.
We
That's
got
awesome. But
art-
I am a sore loser.
So
Darn
but
it.
you got to look at it. Art House, Theaster Gates, world-renowned artist, and you know what we did was even though the competition, the art competition said, oh, you can do this place, it doesn't have to last, or you can do this public art piece, it doesn't have to last. I'm like, I'm not going to spend $1 million in Gary, Indiana, and not have something that lasts. That would be, you know, they would just crucify me on that one.
Oh,
And
try
so
putting
we
a whale in
created-
your city.
Exactly. So we exactly.
Right.
So we created a public art culinary incubator. So the outside Art House, the social kitchen, is a beautiful solar LED lights, really nice place that lights up at night. And the inside is also a work of art, artful bookcases, bar, but it's a gathering place for people to do both visual art as well as food art. And so we just had a cupcake war contest where the winning baker was able to provide food to our local casino to sell their desserts. So that was something that was beneficial, and it's really going to help us to drive something that we don't have, which are restaurants in the city. So it's really exciting. But you know, while you're trying to solve just the basic problems, do the garbage, make sure that the snow is removed.
That's a big one.
You know, do all of those things. You also have to do things that attract
Quality
new
of life,
people,
right?
and give citizens who have stayed there a positive quality of life. So we're excited.
Well, I'm on the same page with you for art. Art and culture is huge to me. And I always I describe it in that arts are a way that you package your city. This is a way you would package a city. So remember, maybe the first thing that you were, when you got off at the airport and you saw a great art piece, doesn't it make you sort of want to see what else is out there in the city,
Makes you want
right?
to explore.
Yes,
Yeah,
so exactly. It makes you want
exactly.
to explore. And so, and obviously for us, Burning Man has $70 million economic impact. I actually, I was just appointed to the chair for the Tapes Committee at Conference of Mayors. So that stands for
Congratulations. That's a
first
big-
woman in 25 years.
How about that?
So I'm super excited about
All
that.
right.
But that's tourism, arts, parks, entertainment, and sports.
Yes.
And so I get to represent all mayors from across the country on all those things.
That's a big
so
deal.
I'm kind of excited that I've been able to invite mayors for Burning Man. It should be really interesting,
Oh,
right?
that should be good. That should be great. That
And you
should
better
great.
be coming.
Well, I'm going to do my best. You know,
It'll
will
be
do my
really
best.
interesting, I'm telling you. They're already all nervous, I can tell.
Only if you can promise that I won't have the same baggage experience that I had
Okay.
today.
And I feel horrible. I feel absolutely terrible. Mayor Karen's luggage did not get
But if
here.
you wanted me to
this
shop
afternoon.
at your store,
Well,
Mayor Hillary, you didn't have to have them delay my luggage. I would have gone to shop anyway.
You caught me.
Well, you know,
See?
the good news is that this isn't a stuffy mayor crowd, right? Because there's some folks that are dressed like I am, so I feel right at home here.
I think you look beautiful. But you're smart because when I travel, I'm in
You wanna be
sweats. My hair is
comfortable,
like
yeah.
crazy town.
Well,
it's unbelievable. So
I did
you're
that the
smart.
first time out as mayor and saw way too many people. So
Yeah.
I decided that
That's
I,
actually a really good lesson.
I'm not dressed up, but I mean, at least
Hashtag
I'm,
mayor made me do it. Right?
love that hashtag.
I know,
Love
right?
That hashtag.
Right? Okay, so last but not least, like what's your biggest challenge right now across? Well, just tell me what's the biggest challenge you have right now in your city.
You know, it would be easy for me to say that the budget deficit and other standard
things, right?
But it really is inspiring hope in residents. For so long, they have had promises made to them by elected officials, and the promises have not been kept. And so when I make a promise, I want to keep it. And we do. We historically do. Or we manage expectations. If, you know, I had someone email me about their driveway, and they said, I sent you an email 2 years ago, and you haven't fixed my driveway yet. I said, well, if I fix my driveway, I'd be wearing a different color if I fix your driveway. But here's the thing, we do main streets, and I explain to them the sequence of things because we've done a lot of paving, we've done a lot of infrastructure, but the other side of that is that I can see that people are now hopeful, they're embracing what we're doing because they expect us to do everything. So they expect us to pave their driveway. But it really is getting people to believe not just in government, but in the role they have in requiring and in instilling or requiring accountability in government, and the role that they play in really being good citizens. You know, they don't teach citizenship or really talk about citizenship in school anymore, but that really does matter. Making sure that you vote, making sure that you volunteer in your community, making sure that others are okay, however you choose to do that. And you earlier talked about, just mayors taking the lead. And we have, by default, been required to take the lead. But many of us embrace that lead. I know you do, I do, Mayor Andrew, whether it's climate change, whether it's the issue of immigration, whether it's ensuring that we have common sense gun laws and the Affordable Care Act. Whatever we have to do, we do it because you're right. We're the ones who see the people in the pews. And, if you see somebody at church mean mugging you because of something you haven't done, now they're at church, but they do that. And we're closest to it. It's hard for them to get access to a member of Congress or even the president. They can write a letter, but they can come right up to us and let us know how they feel.
Oh, absolutely. But, going back to what you were talking about, that a lot of promises were made to your citizens, and it kind of reminds me of hope. And I think in some ways that's sort of what happened to Reno when we had this incredible shift. For those of you that don't know this, Nevada was one of the highest in foreclosures and unemployment next to Florida. And I kind of think that being sort of branded with that and watching it sort of devastate, certainly I watched it devastate our city, and people lost their jobs and their homes, and it was sort of constant. But I think, we started this little part of town that would not have happened if times were good. And so we actually went to landlords. It's this area of town. I hope you guys get to all visit it, Midtown, while you're here. Has anyone been there yet? Yeah. Okay, good. All right. So anyway, but we were able to work with landlords, entrepreneurs, and artists to revitalize this whole part of town. And I think what it did was give people hope that something was happening. People could feel the energy. But today that would never happen. Rents are starting to go up, and people are starting to obviously go into business and things like that. But that's really how it started. But we were really kind of telling this story of hope, and it was arts and culture and food and entertainment. And really, for me, focusing on arts was a big deal, and I believe in it wholeheartedly. Economically.
Absolutely.
And so I talk about this whale, which I hope you guys all get to see because it's beautiful. It's from Burning Man. It lights up at night. It's on our plaza. It is tremendous. And I will tell you, the hits I got that I took on social media were off the charts. And so now I'm a big, huge believer in Save the Whale campaign.
All right, see?
But what's interesting about this is that whale. So we paid about $60,000 of room tax money to have that whale erected, and we knew it was temporary. But the cool thing is last week someone came to my office, and they are from Atlanta, and they want to invest about $2 million into an art project, which is super cool.
That
and
is
that
very cool.
is because they saw the whale on Instagram.
That's a big deal.
So you
That's a
never
big
know
deal.
what can
Yeah.
happen.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's all
Right?
about.
Okay, are you cutting